Back in Huskers Illustrated Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Time to talk Ohio State. Head coach Luke Fickell with us on the program. Coach, thanks for taking the time. You're doing the tour. All right, Nebraska and Ohio State. Nebraska's first home contest in Big Ten play after the roadie to Wisconsin. You're a longtime Ohio State guy. You know Coach Pelini. What's the matchup and the potential rivalry mean to you as an Ohio State guy?
Oh, I think we just got done talking about it in probably about every single section that I went to. It was the guys were looking around like, are these all these people from Nebraska that
asked like football.
And I said, just get used to it. This is what it's like when people ask about Ohio State. And I think the excitement will be unbelievable. You know, the two histories and the traditions that come together. I think the Big Ten is going to have something that they might try and say these cross-bracket rivalries we're going to keep up every single year. So I'm sure they're going to get a lot of pressure from the fans and the general public to do those things.
Well, it's kind of nice when you're like your dream bowl matchup as part of your regular season.
I know it's amazing, and then the connection between the two with obviously Coach Pelini even makes it that much more special.
What's Coach Pelini mean to you? And I mean, you're in your first year. He's a guy that also went to Ohio State, loves the school, was integral on the defensive side of the ball like you in your career. What's he all about in your mind?
Well, unfortunately, we didn't have
you didn't cross paths, but
the chance to overlap because he's a little bit older than me. So I like to make sure I remind him of that he was gone a couple years before I got there. But I don't know him as much on a personal level, but obviously I've traveled and tried to go and talk to him and been one of those guys that I've thought was a great coach and looked up to and always tried to pick his brain. So I think it's a great parallel, and it's a unique situation in that some of your guys that you've talked to in the past are in a similar situation where you're competing against them. So it might make it a little bit more difficult to always call them and ask their opinion on some things because of the competitive nature.
Can you kind of give us a quick run through offensive and defensive side of the ball? What's back for Ohio State, and who are some players Nebraska fans should look for that they might not want to see again here in conference play?
Well, I think starts off offensively up the middle. We got a returning center that I think started maybe 10 games his true freshman year, and he's going into his fourth year senior, who was a big leader for us, and the guy that really everything runs through, and Michael Brewster. On the other side, you've got a J.B. Shugart, who is probably a good 3-year starter at left tackle, who is the same part of the same recruiting class as Michael. And again, our right tackle has been a guy that that won't be in there to start with, but by the time hopefully we're to Nebraska, that Michael Adams is a kid that could be the tackle on the other side based off of some of the young guys and see how they perform. But those are the guys up front that I think that he'll start with, and I think that's the nucleus and where we have to go. Again, our quarterback situation will be unique and probably be defined well before we get to Nebraska, hopefully. But we've got some guys that can carry the football that have done a great job for us in the Jordan Halls and the Boom Herons, and so we've got a lot of young guys probably to see how they step up, especially with some of the situations for the first few games that it'll be unique to see.
With that quarterback spot, I don't want to ask you who do you expect to win it. You haven't started fall camp yet, but are there different styles at quarterback? Is one guy more mobile and one guy more pro style?
They each are a little bit different. You might think that there's just two different styles. Obviously, the Taylor Graham is a little bit more of a true pro style type of quarterback who's a redshirt freshman. As to where the Braxton Miller is a kid that everybody would think is just a runner, but really truly can throw the football very, very well.
Joe Bowser, unique, isn't it?
He is unique, and he's young, but he is very unique. And some of those guys who are very athletic maybe have to learn how to throw the ball a little bit better. But he throws a really good football. Then Joe Bowserman, who's our senior, who obviously was a pro baseball player that came back, and you wouldn't realize it, but he is a athletic type of kid. He might not run great for a 40-yard dash, but is a guy that can create a little bit more with his feet, as well as kind of gives you the both sides of the spectrum. And then Kenny Guyton, who's another young redshirt sophomore guy that you might think is a great guy that can run the football, but he's kind of that dual type of guy too that can throw it as well.
Let's talk a little bit about the defensive side of the ball, Coach. What are some guys who are some athletes that are back on the defensive side of the ball? Because that's where Ohio State's really hung their hat and made their money. The offense has been good enough, even during the BCS and title year, to get enough points on the board, but it's been crushing killer defense that's carried the flag for you.
We've had a tradition and a history that obviously has been very successful. Mm-hmm. And we've lost some great players, obviously, like everybody does year in and year out.
You build up.
So I think to start with, and we're always going to say it starts up front. And coming back are probably two of our best leaders in Johnny Simon, who will just be a junior, and Nate Williams,
okay.
Two guys that will lead the charge up front. But there was a freshman kid that played an awful lot of snaps last year that you guys probably see a lot more of that we do, but some of them big old inside defensive linemen that you guys have been so successful with that I think we've got one in a young kid that's just going to be a sophomore that has got a chance to be very, very good for us. He's about a 335, 340 pounder that we don't get.
Do you put a biscuit limit on him?
That we don't get a whole lot of, but Jonathan Hankins is a kid that we believe can really help us out a lot and maybe step in and fill some of those voids. Those are names.
Sure.
We've got one returning linebacker in Andrew Sweat that's actually with us this week that is a guy that unfortunately has just bounced around and always been the third linebacker, and sometimes we're playing a lot more of the nickel situations,
sure.
Has a lot of ability and has played a lot of football for us. And then, we're a little new and young, but our back end guys, we think that we got an opportunity for some competitiveness and see how they turn out.
Coach, earlier when you addressed the media, you touched on stability. That's going to be the focus of your program. With what's gone on with Pryor and with Coach Tressel. You're a guy who coached under Tressel. You have a lot of affection for him. Has it settled in, or is the awkwardness over? Maybe you weren't awkward, I don't know, taking over for him because he's a guy you cared about, you worked for. You also have this opportunity in front of you, and you have put out a great message to kind of comfort and get through this storm.
I think that was the unique thing in the very beginning. It's awkward in the sense that you have to know the situation. Our kids obviously have a great amount of respect and love for Coach, and the situation being whatever it is, it's still about our kids. Mm-hmm. I know that we appeal and want to make sure that Buckeye Nation feels good and all of our fans and everybody out there, but in order to be successful, those kids have got to be in the right mental frame of mind and believe in what you're doing. And so it is unique in its own situation. It's tough at times, but the greatest thing we've got going for us is that Coach has been incredibly supportive. Any of the kids that he's talked to, and he expresses his love for Ohio State and wants nothing but the best for us.
Was his resignation unjust? Should he still be coaching?
Those are things that I
know they're over your head.
Yeah, that I would not even begin to get into. And the situations and things happen the way they happen. I actually have not actually had a minute to sit and think about it. And I think that's what I've said in the past that has been the unique situation with this is I haven't had any time to sit down and think about, well, you're the 23rd ever head coach of Ohio State history. Do you know what, no, I haven't. And no, I haven't thought about it because I don't want to. I don't want to take the time to. And frankly, I don't have the time to.
Sure. Coach, appreciate the time. Coach Fickell, Ohio State Buckeyes into another successful season ahead of them. Coach, nice to meet you. Appreciate your time. We'll do it again.
Thank you very much.
Back in Huskers.